Hello everyone, welcome to the second module. In this module, we're going to talk about information in queues and how does information affect our waiting experience. Nowadays, more and more restaurants, from fast food to Michelin high-end restaurant, have open concept kitchen. While waiting in queue for their orders, customers are able to see their food being prepared. Open kitchen is one example of operational transparency. Studies find that opening up the kitchen actually reduces the perceived waiting time for customers in queue. How does this happen? Let's look at the open kitchen in a different way. What do customers get from the operational transparency of opening the kitchen? First of all, they're able to see their food being prepared. Different ingredients being taken from some containers, noodle being boiled and put in the bowl, thick broth and then poured into it, and voila, delicious ramen is made. This whole process of food being made makes the customer feel less bored and also give them an idea of how long do they need to wait. Second, customer can also see the effort being put into their food, and this adds value to their service. All these factors actually improve their customers' waiting experience and reduce customers' perceived waiting time. Interestingly, there is an additional unexpected benefit of operational transparency of opening the kitchen. Studies shown that customers also feel their food tastes better with open kitchen. This is the value of information. Providing information to customers in queue can significantly impact their perception of waiting. There are two types of information. One is information of waiting time, where estimated waiting time is given to customers. We can see this when we download files or when we arrive at the restaurant and the receptionist tells us how long do we need to wait for the next available table. However, it's not possible to always accurately estimate the waiting time. Thus, how to announce it becomes tricky, and we will talk about later. There are also other information. This includes operational transparency we've talked about, and also some instructions or explanations while we're waiting. Let's look at an example. When I have flight delays, we'll probably receive some text message like this. Your 5:50 flight is delayed because of a mechanical maintenance. Your flight now departs at 6:25 p.m. According to our definition of two types of information, we can divide this message into two parts. Information of waiting times is now our flight departs at 6:25. Other information includes our flight delay because of mechanical maintenance. Let's first look at the information of waiting times. What does it do? How does it affect our perception of waiting? And how do we announce it? First of all, giving waiting time information to customer will give them more control over their time or flexibility. For the flight delay example, if we receive this information when we are still at home, we don't have to wait uncomfortably at the airport. Instead, we can postpone our departure and wait at home. Moreover, imagine if our flight is delayed for an additional 5 hours. We can even take a nap. Well, of course we will not be happy at this. However, it feels much shorter than wait for 5 hours on the tiny flight seat. Take another example. When waiting for a busy restaurant, the receptionist may tell us it takes roughly 30 minutes for the next available seat. Now we have the option to go shopping or do other stuff for the 30 minutes. Without the information of waiting time, we might just have to stay at the restaurant and staring at our phones for 30 minutes, which is much worse, and the time passage feels slower. Secondly, knowing waiting time can greatly reduce our feeling of uncertainty during waiting, which makes wait feels longer. It's almost a feeling of relief when we know how long we are going to wait. Without such information, it might feel stressful, look around anxiously, or keep checking the time for every 10 seconds. Sometimes, customers want more than just the estimated waiting time when they arrive, but this waiting time information being constantly updated when they are waiting in the queue. At Disneyland, for example, there are long queues for each ride. At every corner, there are a sign to estimate the remaining waiting time. As tourists moving forward in the queue, they keep getting this kind of update. What does this do? It gives the customer a feeling of progression. Knowing that our expected waiting time is decreasing and we are getting closer and closer to our favorite ride, we receive a positive feeling or even excitement that overwhelms the waiting stress. There is an interesting fact about progression. Comparing the two queues, the first one starts slow and speeds up. The second one starts fast but slows down. Which one do we prefer? In an experiment, researchers found that we prefer the first queue because our perceived time is shorter when we start slow but speeds up. Now, let's look at how should we announce the waiting time information to customers. When we travel via flights, do you notice that before takeoff, the pilot will always give an estimation on travel time, but this time is normally shorter than what we had on our tickets. Moreover, do you know that the on-time rate is increasing over the years? 15 years ago, 31% of roads took longer than scheduled, but today, only less than 10% does. It sounds surprising, as air travel has become busier and busier over the years. Why is this the case? More interestingly, the flight from Lexington to Atlanta took 1 hour and 14 minutes according to schedule in 2000. But in 2019, the average scheduled time for this flight is 1 hour and 30 minutes, which means a lot of flights considered on time today will be late according to the old schedule. This is called flight schedule padding, a technique flight companies use to give buffer to their flight schedules. However, if we look at this from a queuing psychology perspective, we can have some more findings. Consider the following two examples. When we wait for the bus, the first example has a schedule says the bus will come in 5 minutes. However, the bus arrives after 10 minutes. In the second example, we still wait for the bus for 10 minutes, yet the schedule says the bus will come in 15 minutes, so we're actually 5 minutes early. In which scenario do we feel better? The second one, right? In queuing theory, we have the following formula. Satisfaction equals perception minus expectation. To increase satisfaction, you can either increase perception or worsen the expectation. Thus, when we use waiting time estimation to set up customer expectation, we can be slightly more pessimistic and set up an achievable goal and beat it. In this case, even though we wait for the bus for the same amount of time, the satisfaction differs. However, it's worth mentioning that we should not overestimate the waiting time too much. Otherwise, customers may feel very disappointed and abandon the service. Now we have talked about waiting time information. Let's talk about other information. This information includes, as mentioned before, the working process provided by operational transparency, direction to queue, instruction on the process, or explanations. Remember the open kitchen example. We showed that operational transparency is able to improve customers' waiting experience. In London, when ATM were first introduced by Barclays Bank, customer satisfaction actually went down. Why? They thought ATM will reduce customers' waiting time and further makes them happier. However, it turns out when customers can't see the work that's being done by a human teller to serve them, they believe their service has less value. Operational transparency shows customers the effort being put into their service. This is important for customers to appreciate the value of service. Last but not least, the explanation. Just like the text message we receive when our flight delays, if the delay is not expected by customer, explanation is important to make sure the customer feels calm and reduce their anxiety level. Lab experiments also find explained waiting feels shorter than unexplained waiting. Moreover, it is ideal to maintain person-to-person contact with customer while waiting. Nurse constantly checking in with patients about their situations while they are waiting for doctor is a great way to mitigate their stress level. Even when it's not possible, a screen of their names and their current status helps remind them that they are not forgotten. To sum up, in this module, we talk about value of information. We talk about information of waiting time, how it gives customers a control of their time, reduce their uncertainty level, And how do we announce the waiting time to customers? We also talk about other information, including operational transparency, direction and instructions, and explanations. Thank you very much for listening, and see you again in the next module.